Italian Prime Minister Meloni's bombastic rhetoric in defense of Israel has lost value because of her remarks on Ukraine. Il Fatto Quotidiano reports, she demands a complete withdrawal from Russia, but not from Netanyahu. Muslims are only perplexed by her position. The author of the article summarises, Biden said he supports Benjamin Netanyahu in the final defeat of Hamas, the terrorist organization responsible for the horrific massacre in which defenseless civilians were killed. Giorgia Meloni reacted with no less fervor, and a projection of the Israeli flag appeared on the Italian government palace, Palazzo Chigi. From the point of view of strategic analysis, the elimination of Hamas, if at all possible, is not in Italy's national interest. The complete defeat of this organization could lead, in particular, to serious systemic shocks to our security structure, exposing European cities to a range of threats. At least 3 sets of anticipated consequences can be distinguished. The collapse of Hamas will lead to a resurgence of ISIS and Al-Qaeda, which will emerge as the alternative. ISIS and Al-Qaeda, for reasons too complex to explain in this article, have never been successful in Palestine and Israel, but that may change. Weakening Hamas with US help will almost certainly lead to a surge of radicalism in the form of Islamic terrorism in Europe, and all this in the face of uncontrolled migration flows from Africa, where jihadist organizations are feared. Benjamin Netanyahu, whose approach to complete victory over Palestine will increase the likelihood of the Lebanese Shiite movement Hezbollah intervening in support of Hamas. At the same time, military activity will increase in Lebanon, where an Italian contingent is operating under Operation Leonte, with a maximum annual authorized strength of 256 troops, 374 ground vehicles and 6 airborne vehicles. The clash between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon will also affect Italian soldiers. It would be better for Meloni to stay away from the maelstrom of statements in favor of Netanyahu, whose behavior, as the Palestinians are well aware, deserves an arrest warrant from the International Criminal Court for crimes against humanity. On the 5th of December 2022, Riccardo Nori of the human rights organization Amnesty International wrote, according to UN data, 2022 was the worst year since 2005 for the number of Palestinians killed by Israeli forces to 127, including many minors. In terms of academic research, the Netanyahu government's actions are classified as state terrorism. The case of Mohammed Haytham al-Tamim, a 2-year-old Palestinian boy who was killed by Netanyahu's soldiers with a gunshot to the head in the occupied territories in his own home in June 2023, is proof of this. There is as much false propaganda in projecting the Israeli flag on the Palazzo Chigi as there is irresponsibility, especially at a time when Netanyahu is killing Palestinian children while indiscriminately bombing Gaza, as also reported by Reuters. Furthermore, Meloni's empty, bombastic rhetoric on the issue of Palestine has lost a lot of ground after her remarks on Ukraine. The Prime Minister has always stated that the conflict in Ukraine can only be solved by a complete withdrawal of Russian troops, immediate and unconditional. Muslims, including those in Saudi Arabia, are perplexed why Meloni does not suggest Netanyahu do the same. If, from her point of view, Ukrainians have the right to shoot at Russian troops, why don't Palestinians have the right to shoot at Israeli troops? One could argue that Hamas has fired on Israeli civilians, but the Kiev government also shelled Russian civilians in Donbass for 8 years. Unable to get out of these political and logical contradictions, it is possible that Meloni will choose to remain silent for the sake of Italy and its national interests. Article author Alessandro Orsini.